reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Lisa and Robyn are two fun friends diving deep into conversations where nothing is taboo. They believe in eating dessert before dinner and wearing the bikini. They're allergic to labels, authority, and cheap shoes. Currently, they're launching themselves through life being the good time, bold enough to take risks and inquisitively asking, what's next? They hail from New Hampshire, but they could be anywhere dressed in cute clothes. If they had to share a tombstone, it would read, "Curiosity killed these cats." Your hosts, Lisa and Robyn, on the mic.
Welcome to Lisa and Robyn on the mic on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. You can watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live as well as Facebook and YouTube. We are here every Thursday from 10 to noon. Good morning. Hey, Robyn.
Good morning.
I'm trying to fade out the music a little bit better, but I always do the mic drop abrupt at the end. I will work on that. I will continue to work on that. So
it's kind of like, are you a hard breaker or are you a soft breaker?
Right. I want to fade.
Yes.
But I'm hard breaking.
Yes.
The egg is being crushed beneath my brake pedal.
Yes.
My tea has fallen over its cup.
Well, I'm such a perfectionist, and sometimes I try to come to the stop sign like you don't even, or the stoplight, not the stop sign, the stoplight. Because I feel like a stop sign is suggested.
It's a recommendation.
Right. So I feel like where I turn most of my stop signs, it's kind of like a rolling stop. Anywho, my goal is, I play the game with myself. My goal is to see if I can come to a stop and not feel when it actually stops.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't always work.
Sometimes I have the patience for that, and then a lot of times I'm like, we're just lucky I'm even here. We're lucky I'm doing these things at all. So I do have the two. There's the parts when I'm really putting in a lot of effort into it, and then there's another part of me that's like,
right,
we're lucky I'm stopping.
Coming in hot.
I am coming in hot. I've been up since 5, and I want to say that we are officially in hummingbird humping season.
Yes.
Because they're doing their mating dances in the yard. You and I both have hummingbirds.
Yes.
A lot of them. And we were at your house, and today at my house, they do this dance where they circle each other in flight as they go up. And then I'm not sure if they're trying to impress the females or if they're doing it with a female, because they're so small I can't see if they're two red-banded guys spinning up or if it's a guy and a girl. And then at the very top, they go up so fast and circular, and then they plummet down so fast. It's so exciting to watch.
It almost reminds me of like the genetic strand, like the DNA strand, the way they go up. They almost are like, they're creating their own pattern, but they're circling at the same time. Like, I'd never really noticed it before. But yesterday, you guys were talking. I didn't want to interrupt you, but there was a third hummingbird, and so the two were in their spiral, in their love spiral, and the other one came in, and I noticed that they're kind of like just, I don't know if that's...
Maybe the two boys kind of displaying, and then the one girl checking out, like maybe.
Oh, could be.
Maybe. Maybe.
Yes, and this is the first time I've actually seen hummingbirds land on a branch. You know, most of the time you always see them in flight or just hovering around, but actually sitting perched in a tree. I thought that was cool because I've never seen that before.
So I think they become more and more used to your location. And I think that I always think, are they resting? You know, are they posing? Because last year I got a lot of good photographs. And yesterday, when it just started raining, just a little bit of rain, we were watching the hummingbird on my bush right next to the feeder, and he kept opening up his wings and to clean himself.
Yeah.
And it looked like, if you've ever seen the back of fighter jets when they're going through their checklist and then they open up the engines and then they clamp them down and open them up. He was doing all these different shapes to get all of his wings wet.
That's cool.
And he just kept doing it over and over, and it was the coolest thing to watch. But we have a screen in the window, so I couldn't videotape it. But I just had to memorize it. But I'm like, this is so cool. And he's not flying away in the rain, and I always get concerned that they will get weighted down from the rain, but I guess they know what they're doing.
The last 2 days, the thunderstorms...
Crazy. And I thought we'd have less humidity, but my hair says no. We have
That's
just
true.
as much humidity as we had the day before.
I know. I actually physically said out loud this morning, man. I looked in it. So when I got up and was getting ready, walking out, I like caught myself in the mirror and I was like, man, your hair is banging this morning. I get in I get to like 3 stoplights up and I'm like, I look at my hair and I'm like, what happened?
So I think instead of I have one of those like little satellites that you put on a roof somewhere, and then it gives you all the reading, temperature, humidity, and all of that for the day. And I always think a picture of me with my hair should come up, and then you'd know the humidity level.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, 12% humidity. Oh, 100% humidity. 75% humidity. And people always say, oh, you're so lucky you have curly hair. And I think humidity. No, I'm not lucky. Humidity. You think,
right.
This is great, but if you had it, you would be avoiding outdoors.
In high season, it's terrible. I'm kind of like New England. I get 3 good months.
Well, and that's how I feel about, for a while, I used to joke that I was born in the wrong place because this is just, we have absence of any humidity in the winter, and that's one problem. And then in the summer, it's all humidity, and spring is a lot of rain, so that's humidity.
Yes.
So I have like 2 seasons in September. I have September and October, 2 months, 1 season. Take photos of me.
Yes. Only get me on my good side. September and October, that's it.
Yeah. So I have a question because you have small children, and I want to know what generationally is happening to children. So I have my nephews, and I thought I'm going to insert a chapter in the cookbook that says feeding children. Cook food, put it in the fridge. Because my nephews do not like any kind of warmth in food.
End of chapter.
End of chapter. Take Chef Boyardee, open, dump, give to children.
Yes.
Because stop heating up food because they can't handle any kind of temperature. And
Yes.
I know they've got sensitive mouths, but
Yes.
I've been telling you for 15 minutes this mac and cheese is not hot now. And you're still saying it's
Right.
too hot to eat. And then,
I think they use that as an excuse.
everything
Still
is an
too hot.
excuse. Everything is
Still
an
too hot.
excuse. I don't know why children don't want to eat. I have no idea why children. But I bought those really bad for you Pillsbury cinnamon rolls that you bake yourself. And I'm so excited. I bought it for them. I'm like, when they wake up that first day, we're going to have cinnamon rolls. And my oldest nephew tells me, I don't like cinnamon rolls. And I have to immediately challenge him. What do you mean you don't like cinnamon rolls? I don't like them. I'm like, how could you not like cinnamon rolls? And he's like, I don't. They're hard. I said, maybe you had one that was stale, but these are going to be fresh. They're going to be so soft. And he insists on telling me he will not eat them. I said, what do you want to eat? So now I'm making multiple breakfasts, right? And I'm aggravated. Because in my head, I'm like, how do you not like cinnamon rolls?
Right.
You can't be related to me. I wouldn't eat my body weight in cinnamon rolls.
Right.
So I'm like, this is a phase. All right, I'll make you whatever you want. What do you want? I want French toast. So I make him French toast. I make my other nephew and I cinnamon rolls. And then he says to me, Auntie, this French toast doesn't taste like anything. I'm like, because there's very little to it. It's vanilla, egg.
Cinnamon.
No, I didn't put any cinnamon
you
because he
didn't-
doesn't like cinnamon rolls.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
So then he says, no, it's too plain. I said, would you like some cinnamon on it? And he's like, yes. More cinnamon, please. More cinnamon. So he's eating
The cinnamon.
the cinnamon doused on
Yes.
top of this French bread, right?
Yes.
The next day, he says, do you have cinnamon rolls? I'm like, no, I don't have cinnamon rolls. And then my other nephew says, why don't you have cinnamon rolls? I'm like, because it's supposed to be a treat.
Right.
They're very unhealthy. We're not supposed to be eating them. Right? So now I'm making, so the kid who didn't want cinnamon rolls wanted cinnamon. The other kid who loved cinnamon rolls, so I'm making them both French toast. And the kid who ate the cinnamon rolls yesterday could not have cinnamon on his French toast today. He didn't like it. It's too spicy. And I'm thinking, they're just screwing with me. This is their way of, like, I don't want to go to bed and I'm going to screw with her tomorrow.
Yeah.
She told me I
watch
couldn't watch
this.
my iPad.
Yes.
I'm going to make her cook me 6 meals.
Hey, watch this. Hold my beer.
I'm going to have this one cooking all morning long.
Hold my juice box.
So then I'm really, why don't you like cinnamon today? You liked it yesterday. It's the same thing.
Yes.
Right? So we go through this whole thing. And then I figure out he really wants the icing. He just can't communicate that he wants the icing. The nephew that liked the cinnamon rolls yesterday. So I don't have icing. But I can make icing.
Yes.
So I make icing. And then because it's not firm from the fridge,
Yes.
he's like, I don't like this icing.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, okay, you know what? No one's eating anything.
You just sprinkle powdered sugar on it, and then it will melt with the butter and the syrup, and it kind of gives it an icing flavor.
But I'm like, did you do this before work in the
So
morning?
we said, do you want snow? We always,
Yes.
sometimes now, like, they're adults.
Yeah.
So like, do we have any snow? I'm like, what?
So I
Yes,
want
we
to. I
do.
want to know what everyone's doing to feed their children, or have they just given up and that's why everyone's eating chicken fingers
Fish sticks.
and fish sticks and nuggets? Because we're like, we're not dealing with it.
Mine are past that point. But I mean, they always did. My kids always did good at breakfast.
Did they?
They weren't. My son is not a big egg eater. He's not a big egg eater.
So I can see that because I don't like overcooked eggs.
I don't like overcooked eggs either.
When I like eggs that are barely 100% cooked, and I could even eat a
But
little.
what's your
raw egg.
favorite kind of egg?
Poached.
Yeah, see, I don't like poached. I mean, I'll eat it.
Because you don't like the white part that's too soft.
I don't like the white looking slimy. I don't like the texture of that. It's like a wet slimy.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like hard boiled eggs.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't like the.
I don't like when people hard-boiled eggs so they're green inside. So I only eat my hard-boiled eggs.
Oh,
Because you know how you can cook it too much, it smells like sulfur?
Yes.
I don't like that.
So I always put, when I do hard boiled eggs, I put a little bit of apple cider vinegar in the water. So if there's any kind of those little cracks, it kind of fills those in, so it doesn't you have these weird looking white jelly balls popping out.
Yeah, and there's also that I was using vinegar, but then I started using lemon because then it didn't leave a tangy flavor. And so when I poach my eggs, I cover the top of it with a little bit of lemon, and then I slip it into the water, and it provides. You know how sometimes the white sloughs off?
Yes.
It
Keeps
prevents
it.
that. Yeah,
It keeps it solid.
condensed.
My favorite is probably a fried egg. I grew up in the South, and my grandmother used to fry them in, bacon grease or the sausage grease. So when the grease gets hot, it almost gets crispy around the edge. Well, as a kid, I made my mom cut off all the crispy parts because I didn't like the texture in my mouth. And now I actually like it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not preferable, but I love fried eggs with Cholula on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably my favorite. Scrambled eggs, I don't like wet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like wet, dry. I mean, not wet, dry. I don't like the wet, runny.
And here I am going, like when it's not
Scrambled
cooked all
eggs.
the way through, but the top is hard. When you get them at buffets, they're like that.
Yes. Or they're big. So a lot of times I will do, I just call it like a deconstructed omelet. I'll do like sausage, onion, peppers, cheese, and all that stuff in my scrambled eggs and do it that way and serve it that way.
An omelet, if you're not doing an omelet right, an omelet is terrible.
Yes.
So I think you should just do, we call them cheesy eggs.
Yes.
Where it's scrambled eggs with some
Yes.
cheese and some stuff. Because, if you're not doing it right, you're doing it definitely
I just
wrong.
felt like it sounded like classy or like I had better skills in the kitchen if I say it's a deconstructed omelet.
Yes, please do that. Please don't call it what I'm calling it.
No.
It's not unappetizing.
Well, but if you watch, we've gone to some places where they pour the egg out to make the omelet. It is paper thin. It's almost like a crepe. And I've tried it and I fail all the time at it. And sometimes I will get it, I'll have too much stuff in it. And I never know when to turn it to flip it at the right time. And then it breaks at the edge. And now it's all heavy. And I don't mind, because you can slide it out of the pan. It's that flip.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been putting the steamer on it, or sometimes I'll tip it to get the juice to cook. I don't know. I'm not a great omelet maker.
Yeah, I don't think I am either. And at some point, you're just like, why am I aggravating myself? I'll just make something else. I have 20 different types of egg recipes I can make. I'm not a big
Omelet person.
I'm not either because I don't like overcooked eggs, and they're always overcooked.
Chris likes the omelet. I always feel like they're just dry. I don't know.
That's the least breakfast I like.
Yes. Actually, we've done breakfast burritos too in the mornings, and those are really good.
I had one in Aruba that was delicious, and I used to go to this one place that made vegan food because they were a health food store, and they used to make a burrito out of tofu that didn't taste like tofu, nutritional flakes, and fake cheese.
What are nutritional flakes? It sounds like fish food.
It looks like fish food, only it's the color of a light mac and cheese.
Oh.
It's like an orangey color, and it has this cheesy umami type flavor.
Oh.
I sometimes put it in soups, but they would take almost like a silken tofu, but a really, really not firm tofu, scramble it up, add the nutritional flakes to make it almost yellow, and then they would put fried potatoes in it and roll it in a burrito. And that was heaven. I used to put a mayo on it.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it was really good. And it was interesting because there was no egg in it.
Huh.
It had not,
And it tasted like eggs.
and it tasted like eggs.
Huh.
Like perfect eggs, actually.
Where do you get... what do you call it? Nature
Nutritional flakes
Nutrition flakes.
is, you can get them at the supermarket. I'll take a picture of it. Let's just show you the brand.
I was today years old.
So Thursday night, I went to Wally's in Hampton.
Oh, yes. Tell us about it.
Free concert, and I finally saw the band that I've been talking about for a year, Rotten Apple. And they were... So there's the problem about expectations. You can hype yourself up.
Yes.
And my spouse was really concerned that I was dying to see this band so much that we were all going to be disappointed when we got there. But they sang, all the hair stood up, got goosebumps the way they were catching the tune. But if you closed your eyes, you were like, I'm actually hearing them, Alice in Chains, live, which is impossible because two of them are dead. Wow. The old Alice in Chains that I grew up with.
So was it crowded? Was it...
It was surprisingly not crowded. It made me think Wally's needs us to do announcements of their
and I
shows,
think we should have
because
Alice in Chains. If anybody out there listening knows how to contact them.
Well, I looked it up. I'm going to contact them
perfect.
actually. But I want them to come on the show. They were so fun. The band was so great, and it was free.
That's cool.
And then one funny part. So they went on before an Aussie band, and we didn't know this because I was only concerned about Rotten Apple.
Right.
So we go there, and I'm like, that woman, I don't think is wearing a bra. Very petite man, long hair. I'm only seeing him from the side, right? And he's got the...
Did he have man boobs or?
No, but I
Oh.
could see like into the vest because he was in a leather vest with leather pants with big grommets down it. And I'm thinking she's not wearing, because skinny arms, right? So I go, she's not wearing a bra, which is brave with that outfit, right?
Stinking identity.
And then we hear something, and it's like an Ozzy Osbourne band later. I'm like, oh, that makes way more sense than what's going on in my head. And it's why I tell my sister-in-law sometimes I bring my helmet in places with me because I want my outfit to have context, right? His outfit needed context. And she said, we should have known because it looked like you went online and said, Amazon, Ozzy Osbourne outfit, small, medium. Like, because he wasn't a big dude. And so we were dying. He was amazing. That band was amazing.
And what was their name?
I'd have to look it
cover
up.
band. It's
Rotten Apple is who I went to see. We left like the first song into the Aussie band. But I will look it up and we will put it in the notes.
I think New Hampshire has a couple of great, this could date ourselves, but oh my gosh, I just lost it. What was the bar in Manchester? Right on the corner. Oh, starts with a P. And they would have back like early 2000s.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to have anything in my brain from then.
It'll come to me.
I'm not going to have 24
but they
years
had
ago.
a good Mama Kicks used to play there, and so I was trying to think about who else. And I think those are all local bands too. There's somebody else, and then we saw them we saw them play in Manchester. We saw them play at Dairyfield, and then we were up at Sunday River, 3 hours away? Mm-hmm. And they were playing at the little ski bar called the Matterhorn up there, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's great when
We've got to go see them.
So this band is so good that I would follow them. Like I will go wherever they have a free show. I'll even pay to see them. They don't have to be free. But what it made me think was, why don't I know what happened to the real Alice in Chains band? And I thought, that's because during that time I was working 3 jobs and I listened to the radio and bought I bought CDs to play in my car, but I really didn't know what was going on with anything because we didn't have the internet. We didn't have social media. So if you didn't hear it on the radio between my jobs,
yeah,
I didn't know what was going on. And the reason why I wanted to look it up was my spouse had said during one of the songs, oh, wow, you can really hear the heroin influence in Alice in Chains. And I was like, yeah, you really can. Obviously, a lot of bands do drugs and they sing about drugs, right? What does every song boil down to? Sex, love, and rock and roll.
Right.
And drugs. Those are the if you
or
want to know.
Broken heart,
right? So that falls in the love category.
True.
Right. The rock and roll part is the sex and drugs piece of it, right? So, but once he said that, I was like, yeah, because I really can. Because there's one song, Alice in Chains song, "What's your drug of choice? How much do you've got? How much you got?" Because I don't want to go broke because I do it a lot. Like that song is obviously a drug song, but so many of the other songs had that like this sort of up, down, high, low into it. And I was like, yeah, you really can hear the heroin influence in the music itself, not even the words, but just you can feel those songs a little bit more.
Yeah.
And so I looked up what happened to him, and he died of an overdose. They think it was heroin and cocaine together, called the speedball. That's how John Belushi died. That's how who's the comedian that does I live in a van by the river, down by the river on Saturday Night Live. Chris Farley.
Yeah.
That's how he died. But he basically died of a broken heart. So he had a heroin problem and a bit of a broken heart. And then he became a shut-in. And he was 6'1". He died at 86 pounds, the lead singer.
Jeez.
And because he was such a recluse at that time, it took 2 weeks to even find out that he was dead.
Wow.
I always wonder,
so
you
he
have
didn't
so
have
much
any staff or anything coming to the house, or
Well, I mean, he had his band members trying to come, but everybody was trying to get him clean, trying to get him sober. Because you're killing yourself.
Yeah.
And he even said in an interview right before he died, drugs were great for me, but now I'm dope sick and it's not good for me and I can't stop. In an interview. And you think all of that talent, you should be on the top of the world.
Yeah.
And it just...
you think about people that are famous and, we think they have so much money and they have fame and fortune and all the stuff. They can do anything, where they're not limited the same way that we are, but yet they're not happy. They're not any happier than we are. So,
I think, everyone has problems and challenges and no one goes through life without them.
Yes.
So to compare yourself to somebody else, you would also have to know all their problems.
Yes.
You think you want their life.
Yes.
And maybe you want some part of their life, but do you want the problems that they're dealing with?
Right. Or what they do and what they did to get to where they are is...
Are you willing to do that as well?
Yeah.
But I think of this band, and I was pleased that it's not an AC/DC band. You know our joke on that. We even talked about it on the Jim Lawrence show twice. But it was great to hear another tribute band and for them to sound so amazing.
Yes.
For them to be, sound exactly like that band. It was almost, I was closing my eyes a couple of times because I'm seeing Alice in Chains in my head.
That's cool.
Even though during that time I had multiple jobs and didn't see any concerts. Because I was thinking, why didn't I ever? Because there are certain bands. We used to go to the Kiss 108 concert. Have you ever been to that?
Mm-mm.
Kiss 108 back in the day used to be very popular pop channel, and they used to have a concert once a year at did it used to be Great Woods or Foxwoods, or not Foxwoods, that's a casino. I think it was Great Woods. I'm gonna have to look all this up on the break. I love when I have to dig into my mind palace for details. But anyways, anyone who's been into a Kiss 108 concert, I'm sure someone will say on Facebook where it was, but it used to be an outdoor concert every year at the same time, and it just used to have all popular bands on. So you would see 30 bands in one show, in one day.
Yeah.
And it was all day and all night. And we used to go every year.
Like a battle of the bands, kind of or what do they call it?
Like Lollapalooza.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was going to say a palooza.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the paloozas.
One of those things.
I'm a palooza. I'm a palooza too. But you are listening to Lisa and Robyn on the mic on WSMN 1590 AM 95.3 FM. You can watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live, Facebook, and YouTube. I now sound like the guy saying all of the side effects of a drug at the end of the drug because I'm going so fast.
Yes.
Speed me up to 1.5. So that was great to see them. I highly recommend them. I want them on our show, and I want to promote them wherever they are. They're such a great band.
Awesome.
I will find them. I bought.
I'm excited to see him have them come on.
And because he said, we want to be nationwide, and I'm thinking you would be. You're fantastic. And so my sister-in-law and I, because she's in marketing, and right away the two of us are like, well, we have family here. We can.
We can promote you here.
Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's get this band out. We want to see you outside, because we were inside Wally's, and we were all probably 20 feet from the stage. We're all huddling in the back. And it's because it was so hot and there was no AC. We were trying to stand by, because it's been so hot over the last week.
Vents.
Right, we was trying to stand near the AC vents. And then one guy takes the microphone from the lead singer. He looked crazed. He looked like Rick Rubin, only a really druggy high. His outfit looked like he picked two different things out of two different hampers. And he had tiny glasses on. And he's like, what are you guys doing? Don't be afraid. Come up. And then we all moved forward, which was great. And then we're all doing this. And then we all moved back to the AC like 2 songs later. And it's not that we didn't want to be up on, against the stage because they were great. It was just,
hot
we are
and
melting.
humid, yes.
I want to hear you outside, in Florida.
Yes.
On the beach.
Sunset.
Yes, at sunset.
Yes.
Let's make it happen.
Yes. Or
Number
rooftop.
1, let's make it happen.
Or
rooftop would be great.
Yes.
Jimmy's Crow's Nest.
Yes. Or the other place.
Tiki Bar.
I mean, although that
Have your people call our people.
Yes.
Which means call us.
Yes.
We'll get it done.
I have a new word. I have self-diagnosed myself.
Excellent.
I have allodoxophobia.
Ooh, what is that? Do I have
the
it?
Fear of other people's opinions. Actually, that's not true. Don't you put that juju on me, Ricky Bobby. So it's not really that I'm scared of their opinions. It's like I'm scared you're just going to speak to me. I'm scared you're going to give me your opinion.
I don't want it.
Right. I am not taking any unsolicited advice.
I love it.
I love looking through and you just happened upon something and I was like, oh.
Where did you get that word?
I don't know. Somewhere in my search. I wasn't even looking up stuff. I think it was something about, I don't know.
Finding a recipe for something and it popped up?
Obscurity. I don't know. I was looking at something and it said, hey, did you know? It said something about allodoxophobia and I was like, what is that? Right. So then I was like, oh, I like that word.
Yeah, it sounds like you should get that lanced off. What do you have? Go to the doctors. Get some ointment.
I'm in quarantine.
What do you have, allodoxophobia? Stay away. I don't want you to get it.
Right. Oh, I love it. I love
that. I'm going to have to learn how to spell it.
ALLODOXA phobia.
Okay, so I'm going to put that under my byline on my Instagram. Right now I'm avoiding laundry. I have allodoxophobia.
Yes. Oh, I love it. Hey, huge shout out. Today is my mom's birthday. Happy birthday, Nanny. Mama.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, I thought that
you made it.
I made it. Another year around the sun.
Another year around the sun.
Yes.
I hope the next year for you is absolutely amazing.
Me too.
Oh,
she's going to come for a visit.
Oh, great. I get to meet her.
Yes, pretty soon.
Oh, nice.
She's like, I want to see the studio. Like, we'll take you by here.
We can bring her on the show.
Yes.
And then we'll just keep she wrote a book.
She did. It's about living with an alcoholic.
Interesting. I should read that because I lived with a drug addict. I might be like, yes, and yes.
I think it was standing behind myself.
Oh, I gotta get that.
Something like that.
Is it on Amazon?
I think so. She was I have a couple of copies. I have one copy. But
I want one signed.
This year for Christmas, she and she paints. She's an artist in so many different ways. But she gave everybody. She has written poems throughout her life, and she put them all in a book and gave one to everybody this year for Christmas.
Beautiful.
And I was like, yeah, it's really cool.
So I think writing poetry is like writing music. You know, because when you hear a song, it's just a poem with a backbeat.
Yes. And some rhyming words. Or they have the tone and the pitch to make the sentence sound like a song. Like it doesn't really rhyme. And I'm like, I don't have that musical ability. So poems to me, it's automatically creates a stress inside of me. Like I remember having to write poetry in high school, and I'm like, man, yes. If there were ever a day to skip school, it would be when you had to write poetry.
Or when they made you say what the poem was about, and it was written in like Old English.
Edgar Allan Poe, and I'm like, I'm 16, man.
He was dark enough, and I had a dark piece that I could infer some stuff in there, like you may be mentally ill. Just like Van Gogh had syphilis from painting all the hookers and cutting off his ear. That wasn't just he was crazy. That was a little bit of syphilis-induced.
Yes.
You know, they don't have antibiotics for this yet. But I felt like Edgar Allan Poe had that dark side. And
yes.
You wonder.
Yes.
But so I could figure out. I would kill to be able to figure out an Edgar Allan Poe. It was those English ones where it was like ye old, whatever, and it was about
thou.
the farm and thou, and then they were like, "What is
Thou's
this about?"
Not goest.
You're like, I have no idea. They don't want to plant in the field. The field doesn't work.
I think I had such a resistance to it. But what's funny, I'll share this with you. Last night,
but go ahead, tell me yours.
So last night, Chris and I are talking, and he said he's talking about instinct. And there's this game that we've played with the kids called Rook. It's a strategy game. And he's like, but you're always strategy. He's like, you count cards. And I'm like, I don't count cards.
You count cards.
I don't know that I do that. And so he was going on and said, yes, you do. You can remember, you can remember how many times a color's been played. And so it is about counting cards to a certain degree. It's, each number 1 through 14 there's green, yellow, all the 4 colors in those 1 through 14.
In cards, it's red and black, isn't it?
No, in Rook.
Oh, Rook. Okay.
In Rook, so it's a different color. And he's like, but you automatically know how to do this and blah blah blah. And I'm like, but I don't know how I consciously do it. If you ask me to explain it, and he said, well, that's where I think that you're really good at math. And he's like, that's where algebra comes in. I was like, I'm gonna stop you right there. He's like, don't you remember in algebra? And he's like, that's exactly what you're doing in your head. And I was like, no. I couldn't do algebra right now if somebody, said, do this and I'll pay you $1 million. I mean, I'll do it. Can't guarantee it's correct. But I said to him, no, I'm going to stop you right there. I'm like, all I remember about algebra is the guy that I had a crush on sat in front of me. My teacher, we called her lizard lips because she'd always lick her tongue. She'd always lick and always sticking her tongue out. Yeah. And I'm like, she always looks like she had 4 boobs. She had big bosoms, but her bra was so tight. Those were the cone-shaped bras.
The maiden form back in the day.
Yeah, but then it was so tight that the humps came up on the top.
So it was divided.
And I'm like,
2 boobs become 4 boobs.
Yes. And then she had
magic.
She was just like, she was an older lady and had blonde hair. I'm pretty sure she's dead now, so I feel safe about talking about. But she had her glasses, and she was always licking her lips, like every time she's explaining something. And I'm like, that's all I remember about algebra. And Chris is like, are you kidding me?
So we were talking about the Pythagorean theorem, and I said, in geometry, we start doing all of that equation nonsense, right? And my spouse, who was not my spouse, obviously, at the time, was not even my boyfriend, but I thought I was getting very hot flashy with him.
He was my target.
But we just always, in high school, we did go to high school together, but our timing was off. It was always, he was with someone, I was with someone, it was like always that. But he was diagonal across from me because he was P and I was T. So he was ending a row 1 up and I was in the very back. And once they started doing the triangle and the isosceles and some calculations, I just would stare at him and daydream about him. I had no idea. And then so, fast forward 20-something years later, 25 years later, we're doing construction and he's yelling, don't you remember in geometry? And I was like, I was trying to flirt with you in geometry. I didn't remember any of this in geometry. I was otherwise occupied.
Right.
No, I don't remember any of this.
Math class was like setting up for your Friday and Saturday night.
So the thing was, I was so good in math and I was getting a C and a D in geometry and everybody's like, what's happening to you? And in my head, I thought, well, I'm never going to use this.
Right.
I might use that over there. I might try to use that to my advantage, but I'm definitely not using this. And then you go through life, and I'm like, man, I should have paid attention to geometry.
Tell your teacher, you're like, shh, 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 shh. I'm working on that angle right over there.
I'm working on that. And in Spanish, I worked on that a lot.
A lot.
And not in Spanish.
I know. Going back, it even makes me even more prouder of my children now because
they're not leering at anyone.
No, the fact that like they did. I applied the least amount of mental energy to school as I possibly could. I did take 4 years of Latin, and I was good at it. I mean, history, English, Latin, but it just none of it interested me at all. It was, and my mom used to call me a social butterfly. I don't know. I can't look back and be like, oh yeah, that was a good teacher. Actually, I did take accounting, and he was really cool. We had him after lunch, and I don't even know if you say that, but he was a little bit creepy. Like you could definitely tell he wasn't looking back
as an adult to a child.
Yes, he wasn't flirting, but you could definitely tell that you were his favorite. Mm-hmm. I mean, everybody else in the class too knew that I was his favorite because after lunch, he always had a Dr. Pepper, and he'd always have some kind of candy. It was usually M&Ms or something. And I was like, hey, can I have some of those? Chips.
Lure you right over. This one's easy.
So that's
this one's just sugar and sugar.
Sugar and caffeine.
Sugar and caffeine. We got this one right over here.
Yeah. So I would be sitting there and we're like learning accounting, and he started bringing me a Diet Dr. Pepper, and I would have peanut M&Ms, and I
sit on his desk and chat.
No, I did sit in there, but I didn't sit on the desk, but he was always.
I'm like starting the beginning of a porno.
But like looking back, and I was like, wow, that could have been a potentially dangerous situation. Not really, but.
Yeah, I have to say, I went to Catholic school. I don't think any nonsense was going on. And I had a lot of really good teachers, and I actually had a lot of really good male teachers who never, like, you knew they would never cross any kind of line.
Yeah.
They were just really great teachers. I had Mr. Guazalaca was my 7th and 8th grade teacher.
Who, Guazalaca?
Guazalaca. And he was the first man teacher I ever had. And he knew that children should run around and that we couldn't concentrate because we were bound full of energy. So he started a basketball before class. So if you showed up early,
how cool is
he would have like a pickup basketball game, and then we would be ready to kind of sit down because we had ran like lunatics. Mm-hmm. We'd throw the ball all the way down, get the basket, and just huck it down all the way down the thing, and you would run like a lunatic. And so he understood that, which was really useful. He had a great way of teaching, and he was the type of teacher who never criticized anybody, even in correction. There was always a helpful component to it, which just made everyone blossom in his presence. And we just, anytime anything happened, everybody was just around him. And when I had to go into high school, I was going to a college preparatory school, which I don't think Matignon no longer exists. It was
Oh, that's funny, because we went to a college prep for a few years in Virginia. It was an all-girls college prep.
Well, mine had boys. I was not going.
Well, they had the boys down the road, and that was VES. So I was like, everybody want to go over there, and like, I never knew what lacrosse was until I met them. Actually, it's funny that you said that, because when we moved and had to change schools, the kids tried to change schools, and their first male teacher was in 3rd grade, and I was like, oh. It was just like, wow, I never even thought about that. We haven't had that experience.
Back then, there wasn't a lot of male teachers. It was almost like teaching was a female profession, almost.
Yeah.
We had so few male teachers at the time.
I remember 4. I remember 4 male teachers that we had. But I tell you, it made me realize, so I went into them going to 3rd grade in a new school with a guy teacher, and just, it actually was the best experience. And I realized actually in elementary school and middle school, and we got lucky because of the teacher's personality. They understood movement. but we build up all kids. They build up all this energy, and they've got to release it. So he was just so laid back. He's so chill. What it reminded me of me going and having conflict with my teachers in high school, and some of the conflicts that arose when my kids were little. Women, we're struggling, and not that it's an excuse. They're all struggling with hormones and things like that, and we have a tendency to take it personal when a kid is misbehaving. It gets under our skin, and and a lot of times, what I had witnessed was they don't attach to it the same way women do. And I thought, wow, that was such a beautiful gift that I didn't know. So third grade, fourth grade, and fifth grade, they had male teachers. Awesome experience. And that made me aware of I got to check myself too. Don't attach emotionally.
Well, when I was going to this college prep school, we had to have a teacher recommendation. So of course I go to Mr. Guazalaka to write it. And he writes the most beautiful thing about me.
Aww.
That at the time I gave it to my mother, and she said, "Why is he saying this about you?" Almost probably wondering, you know, what a man is.
Was it my accounting teacher?
Right. She's probably thinking, was that my home ec teacher? Because he was very inappropriate. But I remember saying to her, because it's true, his writing it down on paper made me believe it.
Yeah.
And it made me defend myself against, even against my mother, he's saying it because it's true.
Yeah.
He's saying something nice about me.
Yeah.
And I kept that letter for a long time. I've moved so many times, I don't have it anymore. But it was a very defining moment for me.
I think that's beautiful. I think that's cool.
But I had to memorize a poem. I think it was in high school. And do you want to hear it?
Yeah.
I memorized one of the shortest ones.
Don't ask me because I can't remember it.
But it actually had a lot of meaning to me at the time. When you have a parent with an addiction, whether it's alcoholism or drug addiction, you can feel almost like your parent's bipolar because you have these really up moments and these really down moments.
You just don't understand you don't have a word for it.
And instead of really, and your parent has a problem, but you don't understand until you live a little bit maybe more life what that up and down feeling actually is. And it was what my spouse was talking about in the music, that you can feel that up and down, that very high and that very low. And so this poem was easy for me to memorize, A, because it was short, and also because it had meaning to me, because it's Fire and Ice is the name of the poem. And it's, some say the world will end in fire, others say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough about hate to know that ice is great and will suffice.
Wow. I love that.
Because I felt like to love something,
you should write that and frame it and put it somewhere.
I used to have it in my first apartment bedroom. I had it, I typed it up on a typewriter, and I put it on flowery paper, and then I put that paper on other construction paper.
I love it.
Before graphic design. And I taped it up on my, I always left my closet door open because I was never allowed to leave my closet door open growing up. So that was one of my first things I did when I got an apartment, was always leave my closet door open. And I would put that on there, and I had some pictures on there too.
Ah, I like it. I love it.
But that's the only poem I remember. It was the only poem that actually spoke to me.
I love it. I think you should do it. I think you should put it up again.
I will.
I have a sign in my closet too. And you think about sometimes, Chris was saying the other night, we had a group event at our house, and afterwards we were talking about impact and influence, and he's like, you've got your messages everywhere. And in our bathroom, in our back bathroom off by where the pool is, there's a sign that used to hang in the kids' bathroom, and it says, and it's it's a Bible quote, Corinthians,
I remember,
or Romans. Yep. It's something, it's basically in everything that you do, take delight in each other and love each other. And I kind of put it in their bathroom as a joke, because every time in the morning they go down and go pee, they're staring at that each other, and it's twins and it's siblings and there's competition and stuff. And here's your first reminder, be nice to each other.
Yes.
It's looking, going.
Says God.
Yes.
God says.
This is Jesus talking.
When you're really that subliminal right after the dream stage.
Yes. But there's things all through our house that even just don't have the words, but they're sending a message, and I'm like, wonder how many times you look around, if you're
I notice
listening.
it in your house. I notice it. You have something different on the blackboard. You write different things on the blackboard on the way out the door.
Yes.
So I've noticed it.
Yes. We have a magnet, like notes, to leave notes downstairs where they put their shoes on, and I used to leave notes or something that if they needed to see it.
So notes. So I love that you do notes, because as a child I wanted notes, because one of the things I noticed when I went to school was parents put notes
Yes.
for their children, and I felt left out, especially like 2nd and 3rd grade, that everyone was getting notes and I had no paper in my bag. Right?
Gosh, that's funny.
So I tell my mother, I give her a pad of paper, and I tell her, write me a note.
Love it.
But I don't tell her it's because all the other kids at school have a note and I feel left out.
Yes.
And, I need encouraging words during the day.
I don't think you can verbalize it
No,
at
you're,
that point.
you're
You
little,
don't,
right? You don't even know why you want it. You just know you want one.
Right.
And she told me, you don't want a note. You don't even want me to make your lunch. And I'm like, I don't.
I don't?
I don't. Everyone else is coming with, like...
Wait, did I say that when I was asleep? Or did I say that when I was 2? Like, I don't remember.
And I just remember, and she didn't write the note, or she wrote one note once. So I had told that story. So I've told that story to everybody, and now I'm telling it on the radio. I love notes. And so every single person who has loved me has made sure at some point to stick notes somewhere where I can find them.
Yeah.
And when my aunts heard that story, they stuck a note in my backpack, and then I didn't use the backpack for like 4 months, and then I have to call them when I finally get their note. But
that's funny.
I still am. I leave notes. I'm a note person. So I love that you have all that different writing everywhere, because I feel like it's Robyn's notes.
Yes. Well, getting to the point, like there's multiple points. So you think that, and I was like, if you're listening, look around your house and think about what messages do you see, how you've decorated a picture. Does it invoke something? They're all messages to ourselves. What are your messages? So one of the things, and I was like, I'll put it in here, because I had created a memory wall outside on our landing. And so I made some sayings and put them in frames. So I did... Well, I was doing a black and white theme, so I did the white frame with a black mat and then the white note. And he's like, I don't think you can put that one up. I don't think you should put that one on the wall. And I'm like, why? And he's like, well, just, people are here. It's probably not the most appropriate thing. So it's actually been sitting in our closet, and I actually love the spot that it's in. And
I want to hear
inappropriate. Well, it is, but I can't say all of it on word. But it says, write a great effing story. Mm-hmm. And it's very black and white, so it catches your eye, and it's right. You see it as you walk in, and you see it as you walk out. And I actually love the fact that he moved it the other day, and I'm like, wait, where'd the sign go? And I didn't realize how much impact it actually does have on me. It's kind of like the manifestation. It's like putting things in front of you. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that I'm actually absorbing it every day. And when it was moved, that's when I noticed it. Mm-hmm. And I just thought that was cool. But so notes show up in different ways.
And I think if I look at, I'm trying to think, I'm one of those people that I write notes to myself everywhere, because something comes through my consciousness and I'm like, wait, I have to remember that later, and I know I'm not, because it's some random thought.
Yeah.
So if you go anywhere in my house, there will be stickies, there will be back of Eversource envelopes that I'm supposed to mail bills in that have something that means something. Yes. And then a year later I come across it and I'm like, what is this? And 50% of the time I throw it away, like, I don't know what this trash is. So I don't know what I was telling myself, but it wasn't useful.
So we have two things. I like notes too, and I make a lot of notes by myself. And sometimes, Chris and I weren't getting along, and I just thought, instead of saying it, a lot of times if I have a thought and I'm like, well, that could be construed, and I don't want to change the energy or anything. I'll right by my vanity, I have a notepad, and I will keep stuff on there. And a couple of times he's like responded to my note to myself, and I was like, wait.
I was having an argument by myself.
But so what's cool is,
is that an eraser?
My son was over at the office, and I found this in my purse. he was over at the office, and they had been doing some woodworking and stuff. And all of a sudden, like, I'm digging through my purse one day, and I'm looking for something, and then I pull this thing out, and it actually kind of looks like the state of New Hampshire.
I thought it was the state of New Hampshire as an eraser.
No, it's a piece of wood.
Oh, wow.
And he kind of just filed it a little bit, and he's like, but I just thought that kind of looked like our state, and he wrote JB24 on it, and it stayed in my purse. And he's like, I just stuck it in there, and he's like, have you seen that? And I'm like, that's just a note. It's like, hey, he's thinking of me, and I keep it in there as a reminder. But when the kids were younger, I bought these cards that had fun facts on the back, random fun facts. And on the other side, it was always a positive, like, I love you, or, it was just some kind of a positive message today. And I would send those in, and I'd put sticky notes and stuff in their lunches. And I've got a couple of pictures. I'd pack my lunch the night before because I had to be on the road at 5. And sometimes when I'd get to lunch, when I would go in to have my breakfast or my lunch, one of them have always left me a note. So on that thread of just leaving little reminders of you that you think about each other. Years ago, we started this little game. My son had a black squishy toy. It was a black rat. And they would start sticking it in places that would surprise me. So then I would go and put it in one of theirs, unbeknownst. We had it she had just started driving. She had a black Jetta. And I had taken the tail of it and opened the car door. So when she reaches her hand to open it, it was right there. Like, we got really creative. Then in the move, who knows? It's probably still hiding somewhere, and probably somebody's water bottle that in a box from college or something. So last Christmas, I found another big black squishy rat. It's in our kitchen on that desk thing, if you see it. But so we still play that game. All these lasers, they're 22, and we play that game, and it's just I receive that as still. That's a note.
Yeah,
we're just sending away to say, hey, thinking about you.
My girl cat Phoebe used to have her baby. She used to have a specific toy that if you're cleaning up, so you're vacuuming, you can throw it in. And she used to put the baby in my bed.
Oh,
it was really, really sweet.
Oh,
and I like be making the bed, and then I find the baby because I'm moving pillows around and all of that stuff. But to our dear listeners, who would love a note in your life? Write a cute note. Put a squishy. I used to put a snake in John's underwear. So my spouse doesn't like snakes. This is like the one thing he doesn't like, and I found this really realistic looking one, and so that came out. And then one time I heard him scream, like a full blown guy scream, and I thought, oh no, maybe I don't want to give him a heart attack. I love him. I want to keep him around.
So Chris had written me a note in my notebook.
Oh.
And so I have actually started making a little box and keeping all the little notes that he's kept. Like, they're just sometimes we used to do
I put that on a notebook.
Well, we used to do Schmiley back and forth. See how much I love you.
Mm. Stay tuned. We'll be back after these sponsors.
Watch and stream at WSMN.live.
ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. The Republican National Convention culminates today with former President Trump expected to accept the party's nomination. His vice presidential pick, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, headlined the Faith and Freedom Coalition's breakfast today in Milwaukee. He says of Donald Trump,
it's just such an honor to be on the ticket with him. It's such an honor to stand with him after what happened last Saturday. I'm sure that you've heard a lot of people say this, but you will never be able to convince me that last second turn of a head was anything other than a miracle.
More calls on the head of the Secret Service to step aside following the security breaches during the assassination attempt. Battling COVID and at home in Delaware, President Biden is being urged by Democrats to rethink his re-election bid. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Hakeem Jeffries all said to have told him that it would be bad for Democrats if he remains on the ticket. Paris police setting up an anti-terrorism perimeter across central Paris as the Summer Olympics approaches a little over a week from now. This is ABC News. NASA is pulling the plug on a mission to the south pole of the moon. The plan would send a rover called Viper there to look for signs of ice, but cost overruns have plagued the mission. A big new deal in the works for the WNBA.
The excitement around women's basketball reaching new heights. Caitlin Clark The WNBA reportedly securing a new round of media rights deals with NBC, Amazon, and Disney, the parent company of ABC, worth about $2.2 billion over 11 years, about $200 million a year. This new media package, a massive increase, 6 times bigger than its previous deal.
ABC's Eva Pilgrim. Experts say the increased TV deal could also mean a boost to player salaries. One of those players, Caitlin Clark, setting a record of her own in last night's game between Clark's Indiana Fever and the Dallas Wings. She set a new WNBA record by dishing out 19 assists. The Wings still won the game. Sherry Preston, ABC News.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer, he hears things differently. To the untrained ear, everything on his shop floor might sound fine, but he can hear gears grinding or a belt slipping. So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of hand. And he knows Grainger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hi, I'm Angie Hicks, co-founder of Angie. And one thing I've learned is that you buy a house, but you make it a home. Because with every fix, update, and renovation, it becomes a little more your own. So you need all your jobs done well. For nearly 30 years, Angie has helped millions of homeowners hire skilled pros for the projects that matter. From plumbing to electrical, roof repair to deck upgrades. So leave it to the pros who will get your jobs done well. Hire high-quality certified pros at Angie.com.
I am Elena Dries, nurse practitioner at Altrix Primary Care, located right here in Nashua, New Hampshire at 57 Northeastern Boulevard. At Altrix Primary Care, we are dedicated expert nurse practitioners who provide high-quality, comprehensive primary care services for people of all ages, from newborns to older adults. Our nursing model of care is distinctive because it's unhurried, high-personalized, easily accessible healthcare for you and your family. Visit us online at altrixpc.com/Nashua or give us a call at 603-821-4009. That is 603-821-4009. Altrix Primary Care, changing the future of primary care for you and your family.
Have you tried to quit drinking before, and much to your surprise and dismay, you couldn't? Have you tried therapy, meetings, and treatment programs, but still can't seem to stay stopped? Or maybe you live in fear that you'll lose your job, your home, or your family, and much more if you don't get this figured out, and soon. Well, there is hope. My name is Bill Nielsen, and I'm the founder of Nascent 24 Recovery and Life Coaching. And I struggled for over a decade, 10 years, trying to get it right. I lost jobs, 5-6-figure jobs in fact, homes, friends, relationships. I thought I'd never get off the merry-go-round or the roller coaster, but I did, and I've developed a proven proprietary process that works. Why does it work? Because it addresses the root cause and not the symptoms. No more Band-Aids on bullet wounds. It's a 12-week journey that will transform your entire life, not just the drinking thing. I work one-on-one with every single client, and your privacy and anonymity are paramount. The great part is that you don't have to leave your home, your job, or your family. Text me the word recovery to 203-241-1266. That's 203-241-1266. Or visit my website, nascent24.com, NASCENT24.com. There is a solution. Take the first step. You won't regret it.
Hi Nashua, I'm Perry Cataldo from Choice Benefit Services, your local insurance agent that has dedicated himself to all the Medicare plans in New Hampshire. Whether you're just turning 65, new to Medicare, or already have a plan, I'll explain all your Medicare options and extra benefits that you hear so much about. I ensure you're getting all you're entitled to and all that you deserve. Nashua, don't get fooled again this year. Call Perry Cataldo at 603-461-5550. That's 603-461-5550. Or visit me online at cbsnh.com. That's cbsnh.com. I look forward to hearing from you. And remember, health is wealth.
With the summer beginning comes more opportunities for music and adventure. Hi, my name is Cody Switzer, and I am from the Nashua Community Music School, the official summer music camp of Nashua. Your child could explore Latin music found in our city, put on an original Broadway show, rock out with our rock band at our next back-to-school bash, or become the next best DJ at the party. Want to learn more? Please visit our website, nashuacms.org, or give us a call at 603-881-7030. Don't wait. Spots are filling up fast.
Are you or your loved ones in need of compassionate care in the comfort of your own home? Look no further than Heaven Sent Home Care. Heaven Sent knows the importance of personalized care tailored to your unique needs. Whether it is assistance with daily activities, medication management, or specialized medical care, our compassionate caregivers are ready to provide the highest quality of in-home care. The services provided by Heaven Sent Home Care extend beyond physical care. They also offer companionship, ensuring that you or your loved ones have someone to share stories, laughters, and meaningful moments with. Experience the peace of mind that comes with knowing your loved ones are in capable hands. Or visit us online at heavensenthomecarellc.com to schedule a consultation and learn more about the comprehensive range of services provided. Heaven Sent Home Care, where care and compassion come together.
The views and opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Lisa and Robyn are two fun friends diving deep into conversations where nothing is taboo. They believe in eating dessert before dinner and wearing the bikini. They're allergic to labels, authority, and cheap shoes. Currently, they're launching themselves through life being the good time, bold enough to take risks and inquisitively asking, what's next? They hail from New Hampshire, but they could be anywhere dressed in cute clothes. If they had to share a tombstone, it would read, "Curiosity killed these cats." Your hosts, Lisa and Robyn, on the mic.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Lisa and Robyn on the mic on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. You can watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live, Facebook, and YouTube. We are also on iHeartRadio and Spotify, everywhere you can find your lovely podcasts.
I'm just going to put it out there. We want Spotify to pay for our show.
I know we need like 5,000 subscribers.
But
we are so far. We are so far from that.
Do we know how many subscribers we have on Spotify? I mean, iHeart.
I don't know either number, actually. I should look that up. I don't like to look at it too often because then I can get, like, when I'm looking at my treadmill or looking at my watch during a run and you're like, only 0.2 miles went by.
I know.
And then I become a little bit addictive. But I wanted to say, this sort of feels like the 60s.
What do you mean, right now?
Yeah, right now.
What we're wearing, like, or this
environment,
or like the time period that we're living in right now.
The time period that we're living in. I feel like we're reliving history a little bit.
Tell me more.
Well, we had the attempted assassination of Donald Trump on Saturday. And it reminded me of how disenfranchised my mother was when I was young about the assassination of John F. Kennedy, then the assassination of Bobby Kennedy, and then the assassination of Martin Luther King. And she, it like destroyed her childhood or her teenage years, where she lost faith in a lot of things. It left
such an imprint, I mean, it's a historical...
Yes. I think we sort of breezed. Obviously, they lived during that time period, and then my mother sort of blamed the hippie phase. Yeah. She was not a hippie in any way, shape, or form, although she did like the drugs that the hippies liked. But she wasn't a hippie in personality or in outfit.
Yeah.
She was
or
clean.
An energy.
Yeah. She was an electrolysis, so shaving, and no hair was her thing. But the attitude of like, screw this, screw the establishment, that no trust in anyone with any kind of authority, which is why it was probably imparted onto me to think for myself and not believe everything that's told to me and question everything.
I think that's a good gift because I think we spend a lot of time unlearning that I think we spend the rest of our lives once we're out of the nest and starting life on our own. I think it's just a slow progression of unlearning those things, or unlearning some things that we have picked up. Yes. Let me ask you this. Because of what's going on in history and the similarities from the past, do you think that the energy is the same, or do you think that it was more of a stop the world kind of moment back then when JFK got shot at versus the way the world is perceiving it now?
I think
when it happened.
I think it was stop the world then, because how could this happen?
Yeah.
I think because John F. Kennedy Jr. had such a hold on the people. He was good looking. He had a beautiful wife. He was almost from the royal family of the United States, the Kennedy family.
Yes.
But he had small children.
But the Kennedys had their name. Like they had been out. You know, everybody knew they're like a household brand.
Yes, he was America's sweetheart in a way.
And back then,
and to kill America's sweetheart in such a violent public display, and for it to be, not only how does this happen, but was our government involved? And I actually was like, do I really even know how he was killed?
But I don't think the parties were so polarized. I think
no, they weren't.
Because I think there were a lot of, air quote, Republicans that voted Democratic, and I think there were Democratic people that voted Republican, because it was really about who did you align with more, who had the most beliefs that you aligned with. That was the thing that was important. Now it's just all parties. It's like, hey, we're playing a game.
And we didn't have social media back then, so you were only told what either the news told you, the 3 news channels. I think it was probably 4, 5, 7 news
ABC,
channels.
CBS, and NBC, the only ones
grew
we
up
got.
on.
Yeah.
And then the newspaper, which was a real thing, and people read books. But news came really, really slowly. But even though Lee Harvey Oswald was identified as the killer, no one believed that.
Right.
Even back then, originally. And in Dallas, did you go to where he was shot?
I did. I actually walked it, and I've got pictures of it. The grassy knoll is way smaller than you.
Absolutely. So John and I went too, and it was putting yourself in a piece of history that you heard about all the time and loomed large in your mind. But when you get there, you're like, wow, this is where everything took place.
Yeah, and I think there's an X on the road, but it's just such a short distance. So we stayed. The day that I walked, we were just a couple of blocks away from it. So I kind of just wound through the city, and I forgot the other park. It's the main strip, and then there's like a waterfall.
Yes.
And you can kind of sit there, and there's like a little bit of a park, but then that road where he got shot comes this way. The grassy knoll is on the right, and then the building there's a sign in the window saying it was taken from the shot, or there was some.
You can go through the tour that's in the books depository.
Yes.
Yes. I was going to say suppository. It is not a book suppository.
Yes.
It is the depository. And you can go through a tour on that, but you can see where he was in relation to where the street is.
Yeah.
And I think there was a lot of protests during that time. There was a race war during that time. Busing happened in Boston. There was so much an upheaval, and you had the Summer of Love and the antithesis to all of that violence, and the idea that the violence came from within our own government, and all of that just. So I don't think what we feel today with distrust of the government and all of that is anything new. I think it's it looks like history almost repeating itself to me.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm so concerned because I guess who knows what the world would have looked like if those 3 men were alive.
True.
But their life was cut short via murder, through assassination. But politically, what would they have done? What would the face of our country look like? How different in a good way? I don't imagine in a bad way. But Biden.
No, and I think, but each one had a love of people, but also love of country
and a love of power too.
Yes,
I think the Kennedys.
Yes. Have you ever been past the Kennedy compound on the Cape?
No. I think I did on the boat, actually.
Yeah, we did it by the boat.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So yes, on the boat I did.
There's a place that you can get close to it, but they've got a fence that runs like basically all down to the water, and I'm like, my always question was, because even if you're on waterfront, you still don't own. It's kind of like the road. You still don't own the 6 feet of it, but you can own to the high tide mark.
So even back growing up, I always remember Chappaquiddick, which was Ted Kennedy and that girl drowning in the water.
Yeah.
So there's always scandals surrounding them. And then, of course, the assassinations happen. And Bobby Kennedy Jr., when he was running, he wanted Secret Service, and Biden refused. And then, obviously, he just provided Secret Service. But I don't know why you wouldn't provide Secret Service to someone whose everyone in his family is assassinated when he runs for office.
I was just trying to look up, because I saw a thing on Instagram this morning that there were a couple of senators that were actually chasing down, confronting what's her name, the head of social services. Or
Secret Service?
Secret Services.
Yes, I know who you're talking
services. About. Can I get a meal plan? Can I get some WIC?
Yes, I know who you're talking about. The name's not going to... I'm going to say, yesterday I said Paul Mitchell instead of the astronaut.
Yes.
And your husband was like, the hairline guy? The hair company guy? The shampoo guy? Yes. I'm like, no, I so said the wrong name. I'm sorry. Don't take me literally.
That was rapid fire digression. Yeah, so I didn't get to see all of that, but she was leaving a rally or something, and they were giving her grief, and I kind of feel like I'm a little bit happy to see that, to seeing like senators, pulling together.
But she said she's not stepping down. She said she did nothing wrong.
Well,
I think
maybe she doesn't voluntarily, but maybe that will be hopefully that maybe will come the outcome.
Well, I thought
of
the
it,
stepping down was supposed to be the safe face. Look it.
Yeah.
Something bad happened. No one wants to fire you. Step down. Is what I thought was supposed to happen with the stepping down.
Yeah.
But I think there's such a thing as willful negligence.
Yes.
So even though you might not be liable or responsible, you still, from a negligence standpoint, maybe you. I hope.
Well, but if you think about it, if she's gonna get booted anyway, like.
But maybe she knows she's not.
But
maybe
she's thinking a long-term game, that if she plays this out and don't step down, if I say no, I'm committed to my belief. Maybe she thinks that there's a more of an opportunity for employment using that angle, coming at it from that angle.
Yeah.
Because, instead of like, well, I'm going to go down with the ship, instead of being like, well, sorry.
Yeah. I didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
So, yeah.
I couldn't protect the president correctly. I couldn't game plan that out, but let me be your detail for you.
Right.
So see, I'm like, that's why I'm like, no.
That's on you. She gave the whole, that's on you.
Right. I did everything by the book,
Did you?
Right.
Yeah. So, and obviously anything could happen. Obviously there is Secret Service because anything could happen. And I remember I was in Bermuda and George Bush Sr. was golfing there, and we were at Elbow Beach, and of course you can see Secret Service, and I mean they're everywhere, and we couldn't go anywhere over here, and it's like, we're going to get by you, and they're like, no, you're not. We want to meet the president. You're not meeting the president. 18-year-olds running around with 2 frozen mudslides in them. Why can't we see the president?
I remember as a kid,
I'm just going to go to the golf course and pop up behind a bush.
Peeking out through the
I wasn't going to hurt him. I just wanted to say hi.
Right. I remember in high school, we went to a field trip to D.C. and we got delayed. We were leaving one of the museums, and there was the procession. It was they were bringing the unnamed soldier home, and I was like, I thought that was kind of cool because you could see the what do you call it? I want to say the brigade.
Yeah, no, that's the right word.
Is it a brigade?
I think so.
Sounds
brigade.
Weird.
I think
brigade.
Yeah, with a G. Let me look up that word real quick and see if we're using it properly. This is all advanced maternal age, Breen.
Yes.
I used to be so smart. I used to be able to remember things off the top of my head.
That's kind of like a question is like saying what wrong. Why is there a D in fridge and not in refrigerator?
Right. I always spell refrigerator wrong and have to correct it. So brigade, a subdivision of an army, typically consisting. Oh, hold on. I have to get my glasses.
Motor brigade.
Yes. Yes.
So we saw that. Anyway, that was.
Oh, wait, but that's for infantry. Or the militia which was brigaded with regular formations to improve training. We're using it in around the correct manner.
Kind of ish. An ish.
In a Robynism kind of way.
Right. It's kind of correct-ish. Kind of right. If you really want to hear some more of us speaking politics, you should listen to Jim Lawrence's show. We were on Monday, just after the assassination attempt.
But I think if you don't catch him live, you don't catch him.
It's not recorded anywhere?
Well, it's recorded here, but I don't know if he puts it up. So that's the thing. You just have to listen all the time.
Oh, so he can't. Because I was wondering about that. We can't go back and do past recordings?
For him, I don't know. We would need his permission, but I don't know. They're not online like
we
ours
can strong arm Jim. He'll give it to us.
Or he won't because we asked.
That's true.
What do they want me to do? I'm not doing it.
Nope. I'm going the other way.
I stand in my truth. Jim, don't let us bully you. Which he will not let us bully him. But it was a good show, and we don't talk politics. And in a way, I'm not necessarily talking about politics today as much as impact. And there are things that we think don't impact us because they have nothing to do with us, but they do. Everything has something to do. We're all connected in good ways and in bad ways. And I was talking to someone about group karma. And because someone asked me how I was doing, and I was like, I'm all off balance. And it started with that on Saturday and just feeling really funky and some other stuff happening. And it's like, how do you not feel a heavy weight of what's going on? And I thought, man, it's almost like living through the 60s and all of that upheaval. And then I pulled out a book called Chaos, which was the CIA and Charles Manson. And it's like 500 pages.
I'd like to read that.
I'll give it to you. Because you're like, because that also was that time period. And I read a lot about serial killers in my day.
I think that was like a staple for teenagers.
I do think so, too.
We did that, too. But you realize it was
but
like
I never read
70s,
Manson.
80s. Like it wasn't that far removed from, that was happening in the time when we were born.
Yes, and it
so
like
when
ripped
8
our
years
nation.
later, it was less than a decade old. All those serial killings are, happening or within the 10 years of our birth. So by the time that the books are coming out, like, wow, people are like, oh, I want to see this perspective of it, or this was real, this happened.
Or how does this happen to a person?
Yes.
I think there's almost like a fascination into, then there was the satanic cult threats. My mother was always terrified if I was going to go somewhere. And I'm like, you can't play music backwards? I don't know what you people are talking about.
Right.
Have you ever tried to play music backwards? Like, I don't.
How do you do it?
I don't know. You're supposed to move the needle, I guess, in the wrong direction. But
come back and it scratches, and it all just.
Yeah, it doesn't actually make no. But anyways, I remember there was always some fear of why I couldn't go to a concert or do something with my friends or do something, because there was always something happening on a global karmic level that I wasn't allowed to.
If the cult wasn't going to get you, the LSD on the stamps were.
Yes.
That was our childhood.
So,
and hot dogs are good for you. That was our childhood.
Which, speaking of conspiracy theories, I was talking over the weekend, and we kind of were alluding to the fact that the food pyramid is a conspiracy to make us all fat and obese. And what I said was, at the time that the food pyramid came out, it was when food was originally packaged in the way that it was to prevent starvation, because otherwise everyone was just living on fresh farm-to-table food.
Yes.
And they didn't promise you'd be healthy. They promised you wouldn't starve to death.
Right.
And then it just kind of became its own monster, and then it sort of bred in some horrible stepchild to the FDA, what's getting passed.
It was a blueprint. It was the beginning of a blueprint. And I think the purpose of that blueprint was to keep us, because when did it start? Just before that, it was in the Depression era. You're in the war. foods are rationed and all of these things. So it's like, hey, let's make you not feel so bad because we're rationing all your stuff. So if we give you this many grains, those are going to fill you up, and that's going to stick to your
bones.
I was going to say your butt. That's going to stick to your butt. I'll give you some meat.
Right. And so it wasn't born out of an evil creation. It may be something else
more
now.
out of necessity and being able to, I don't know, maybe even calm people's fears.
And there's nothing worse than being hungry, right? When we've got everything else going on, to be hungry on top of it. But we were joking, and I was saying to my sister-in-law, oh, my God, we've had bread twice today.
I know.
But back in the day, when you looked at the food pyramid, it was I have to have 6 to 11 of these. Now I have it twice in one day. I can't fit in my jeans. What happened?
I know.
Age.
Wheat.
But I could eat all wheat at
Me
17,
too.
18. I was nothing but wheat. I never ate protein. I ate nothing but carbohydrates.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Sandwiches. Yeah, I didn't eat a lot of meat either.
I didn't even eat sandwiches. Sometimes
I didn't
would
eat
just
vegetables.
You still don't eat vegetables.
Yeah, I've gotten better. I mean, cucumbers, tomatoes are my
Seeds,
staples.
those are fruits. Not going to call you on that, but those are fruits.
I do put a little more lettuce in my salad nowadays. But I also put like a little bit of cottage cheese in there. I cut up pickles. I like olives. And I love red onion in there, but they have to be just paper thin, because I don't want the crunch of the texture of it.
That's the only way you should slice a red onion, is see-through paper thin.
I agree.
And I don't know how we went from JFK to red onions, but
we'll get back.
In line with, past things and future things and present things, we have the Olympics.
Yes. Starting, July 26th.
Yes.
Is that next week?
Are you watching them?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. It's hard to watch TV in the summer. I hope I watch a little bit of it.
Yeah.
What are your favorite sports?
I like the synchronized swimming.
Mm-hmm.
And my sister and I, and that's probably because when we were little and that would come on, we thought that was just so cool. So when the pool opened up and, the neighborhood all went to the pool, like my sister and I would always do a synchronized swimming routine.
So I tried, but the only move I really had was lying on my back, throwing my leg up in the air, and then sinking to the bottom. That was my only synchronized swimming move.
Or you just dive down and you get both your feet on the bottom and you rock it up and you just kind of do some kind of a,
swan thing out.
Yeah. Sometimes you try to throw your leg up and all this stuff. But we would do our circle, hold our arms up and we're trying to circle around the water. It does help if you have fins.
Oh, that's a great idea. And I've had fins in the pool.
I put my fins on yesterday and I was like, man, I have so much power. I'm already at the deep end before I even know it.
We should do a synchronized swim in your
pool. I love it. So swimming would probably be mine because I grew up swimming and I was on swim team for a while. For summer sports, I also like curling. I think I'd be good at curling. I don't want to be the brusher.
I'd be good at yelling from the stands.
Yes. To the left, to the left. Yes.
That's my skill in curling.
And bobsledding. I would bobsledding, luge, the skiing. Those are all my favorite. What are your favorites?
I like volleyball.
Oh yeah, I like volleyball.
So when I was young, I would watch gymnastics, and you had to call me Nadia Comaneci for a period of time. Every time I stopped, I would throw my hands up in the air like I had just performed a feat.
Well, back then I had a haircut very similar to Mary Lou, and I did do gymnastics. So
yes, Mary Lou Retton. I loved Mary Lou Retton.
Yes. Who was the other one behind her? She's a little bit taller. She was really popular.
You're gonna have to Google her. I don't remember. I only remember Mary Lou Retton.
She had curly hair. Not that that helps anybody in any way, but
people are guessing.
She had curly brown hair.
And which do you think should not be a sport in the Olympics? Because when I think of Olympics, I think of powerful, impressive.
Ping pong.
That was mine.
Table tennis.
Table tennis should not be an Olympic sport.
I don't need it. So I was just actually looking up some of the things. Some of the weird ones. Tug of war. Tug of war used to be an Olympic sport.
Well, that's because of when 1775, when the Greeks were doing it, they didn't have a lot. So they're just like, take this rope and go over there.
Well, they didn't do it. So they actually did tug of war from 1904.
Oh, really?
So we got the gold in 1904 for tug of war.
Fun
and
fact.
Then they stopped doing it in 1920, but Great Britain took the gold in that one, and I didn't count the other three in there. But so I was looking at different ones. Live pigeon shooting. Live pigeon shooting was an Olympic sport in the 1900s, and it sparked the
Trauma.
animal rights. And so the U.S. banned it 2 years later. So in 1902, the U.S. banned it, and I thought that was kind of cool because that was part of the beginning of rights for animals.
PETA.
Yeah,
Getting involved.
Yes.
So I have a PETA story. Did I tell the story? And if I did
I
on
don't
the
know.
radio, tell me so I can stop. My father wanted to take me to see Black Stallion. Beautiful movie. My father was a wicked movie buff.
Early, I think, yes, but tell it.
I don't want to bore people with it twice if you've heard this, but Black Stallion, the opening scene, they're on a boat. Young boy goes down, giving sugar to the horse. His father's upstairs gambling or whatever. They're going to the new world or whatever they're doing. There's a beautiful horse, beautiful stallion. 5 minutes into the movie, boat catches fire, sinks into the water. Boat and kid are in the water. Kid grabs horse, and then they wind up on a beach and a stranded island and eventually get rescued, right? But the first 5 minutes of that movie is like a Disney movie on steroids live. Small child.
They're going to shoot the trauma right at you, right out of the gate.
I am so hysterical in the scene where the horse is in the water that my father has to take me out of the movie theater because no one can watch this movie as I am a small girl, overly hysterical, right? We go a second time. So he goes to buy me ice cream. Because my father had days off, and I would always spend my father's days off with him. So, we're going to the 1 o'clock theater, and now we're going to go to the 3:30 theater. Because we didn't make Black Stallion at 1. But I have had ice cream. Maybe I feel better. We try it again. I'm hysterical. He can't show it to me. So he takes me. We're eating. Now I'm having McDonald's or Brigham's, whatever I'm eating, horrible French fries. And he's like, what is going on with you? It's a movie. The whole movie is this horse living. The whole movie is the horse living. And I was like, and then my father's like, why are you crying about the horse? Not that the kid lost his dad. As a dad, he wants to know what why are you not crying tears for the father and son relationship?
Right.
And my response was, but the kid and the dad know they're acting. The horse doesn't know this is a movie and he's acting. And I could see that the horse was really afraid in the water. And that's what was upsetting me.
Yeah.
So we did see the movie because my father figured out from the people who run the theater, when does the scene show up when the kid and the horse are on the beach? So we went in the third time, and I saw from that point forward.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
Man, what an awesome dad.
What an awesome dad, right?
Yeah.
And then he
Three
says
times
later on, see? Like the whole movie, see? It's a beautiful smooth. And then I loved that.
But he didn't give up and didn't get frustrated. It's just like,
we're going to see this movie,
That's
kid.
the beautiful thing about love. It's actually seeing somebody and meeting them where they are and understanding, helping them come over their own hurdle. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, and he didn't force me to sit through the scene a third time.
Yes. Well, I was going to say before menopause. I can look back and think, there's a lot of times Chris asked me, why are you so upset? Kayla and I would used to get out when the commercials would come on. We would get up when the Humane Society was running their 90-minute ads or their, 60-minute ads. I'm like, man, in World Hunger, when they give you the little Ethiopians on the TV, and I'm like, I can't watch that, man.
Yeah.
It just hurts. And he's like, you guys can come back in the room now. I was like, it's probably just hormones.
Right.
So I just blame that.
But I do think, I remember watching, my father and I always just watched the Discovery Channel. The things my father and I watched were war and anything about nature, because neither had the chance for someone being topless in a sex scene that would make him uncomfortable, right? So I watched Normandy over and over and over and over again. And I watched but I would always close my eyes or turn my head when the animal would get eaten.
Yes.
And he would say, but this has to happen. Like, what? This is reality.
Yeah.
And I would say, yeah, but I don't want to see it.
Right.
It hurts my heart that
yes.
I know that the wildebeest has to die.
I feel
right.
it,
I know that. And there's one scene, and it didn't have that British voice that's over announcing everything on National Geographic now, but it had another voice, and there was a dust storm, and the baby elephant got separated from the big elephants, and I'm hysterical. And I said to my father, why don't they push them in the other direction? Why are they just filming it? And he goes, this is what happens, and we don't interfere in nature. And I was like, we interfere with nature all the time.
I know. I remember one time we were watching a nature show, and a pod of, or a group of orcas had surrounded a baby whale shark, and the mom and the baby are swimming, and how she's positioning herself to try to give the baby more distance. And it,
it's heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking, because then you think of baby and you think of child, you think the innocence, and then you see a mother, you see the bond, the protection, like your life matters more than mine, and that's just hard. That's hard to watch. And
and then when people say things like, oh, animals are beneath us, and it's like, no, they have the same instincts. Actually, some of those animals have better instincts than some others. Some of them are doing a little bit of a better job.
That is true. Yes, definitely, that is true. Dumbo was it from Dumbo. We would read it. I wouldn't have my dad ever read Dumbo. Hated it for the longest time because
I've never seen Dumbo, and I've never seen Bambi. Never.
I did cry at Bambi. And it just, as I got older, Walt Disney had said that he would never create a movie without sorrow in it, because without sorrow, you can't know what true joy is. I get that.
I understand that. And of course, even as an adult, I mean, think of everything that's horrible in the world, and you're like, you're not going to acknowledge it as reality. No, we do. It's just that how much do I have to see?
Right. I don't have to be locked in, and I don't have to raise my cortisol levels, just to.
And when I showed you the other day, I'm scrolling through. I have a great trifle recipe, and then the next one is a dog in 100% bandages. I'm like, can I not have these two touching?
Yes. Give me something I love, and be like, ooh.
Right. And then, I did want to talk about a couple of things. So we've had the Humane Society on, and we've had Operation Delta Dog on. So Operation Delta Dog, I'm going to pull them up because they have some opportunities. And although they did not ask us to share this, I will share it anyways. Anyway. I love them. On September, I dislike when. Oh, there we are. On September 22nd, all proceeds directly fund our cause for service veterans for veterans. They have a walk to rescue 3K. Dog friendly, so you can bring your dog at Mines Falls. There's vendors needed as well as walkers needed to raise money. You can go to their Instagram page, which is Operation Delta Dog, and they do have the fundraise Give Smart link that you can go there. You can bring your dogs along. You can get those paws moving for a cause. And if you are a local business and you want to promote your business at their event, they're looking for vendors, and you have an opportunity to be a vendor there as well. Because they're doing great things. They just had, I think, six officially graduated service dogs with their veterans. They had posted that. They just had a graduation. And they have Bane, the black lab retriever, who is 3.5 pounds, a male, 3.5 years old, 72-pound male, needs to be adopted. For some reason, maybe he went through the training and didn't 100% match up with someone, but they say he's a very handsome boy with beautiful bridle markings. He's goofy and he's smart and he's loving, and he loves going for walks.
Aww.
He loves his people.
So we should share it to our page.
Yes, and he is having some health issues, which Operation Delta Dog is covering the financial cost of. They just want a family to stick with him. So you can call 603-921-5253 for more information about that. Bane would do better without a home with a cat, but he's great with children and maybe possibly a female-friendly dog. Because he's a boy.
Oh,
and he
so
might
maybe
like a
it's
little
the
girl.
health issues of why they don't want to place them. You know, because you have a veteran.
Yes, they need help. They can't be helping an animal.
Helping an animal, but then if it has health issues or something, then it's caring for.
Yes.
Depending on the circumstances, and it might not be.
But he would probably
suffering
be
a loss earlier. I don't know.
Yeah. So whoever wants a beautiful black lab type dog, he's available.
Yeah, let's share it on our page.
Yes, we can do that on our pages as well.
Yes.
But I'm trying to think if I'm going to be around for the walk. If I'm in town for the walk, I'll do the walk.
What day is the walk?
I just...
Well, I have the stroller for the cats. We could bring them.
With all the dogs.
Right.
Mom, why are you traumatizing me with this? It is September 22nd. I'm pretty sure I'm back. I'm pretty sure I'm home.
September 22nd.
Yeah, if I'm home, I'll double check by next week, and then I'll start fundraising for it if I am home. Because I love that. I love veterans, and I love animals. And they do a great job of taking homeless pets. And we had them in the studio last year with a veteran who went through the program and his dog, and they were wonderful. So anytime you could support them, I think they're a pretty wonderful local organization.
Back to Olympics. Competitive art used to be an Olympic sport.
Wow, you had to paint on demand?
But how do you...
It's so subjective. How do you say it's the best?
Right. How do you say if it's competitive art and we all see things so differently? Do you give them all like, you're going to paint the Mona Lisa and see who does the best? Or because then it's still all interpretive. So I can see why that one failed. Breakdancing. Our son told us that yesterday. I think breakdancing is going to...
Bring out the 80s in us.
Yes, I think that's going to be this year.
Did you break dance?
I tried.
I could never spin on my back.
I don't.
I used to be able to do the worm.
Yes. The worm. Yes,
I could do that one, but I could never spin on my back.
I couldn't do that.
I couldn't do the thing where you landed on your shoulder, but your feet went like can on the side.
Oh, yes.
On an elbow.
Yes.
I could never do that. I could never
never
hoist the backside of me up like that.
I couldn't go down like bounce off my my arm,
like the Russian dun dun dun
yes.
dun dun dun.
Yeah.
Oh, Jim.
Do that. Trampoline.
Trampolining should not be an Olympic sport.
It was.
Is it still now?
I don't think so. No, I think that was way past our time. Pistol dueling.
Well, we can bring that back. One of the Olympians has to die.
Jim, do you want to jump on and share your Olympics?
Do you want? Well, no. Actually, I don't want.
Right
I don't want to talk about the Olympics with him. I want to ask: Did the CIA kill John F. Kennedy? Who was determined to have killed him? Because we talked assassinations.
Grab a mic.
And I'm like, my mother thought it was the CIA, but I don't know that that's really what the CIA was. Let me put you on your number 4, right? Let me put you on. Welcome, Jim Lawrence, to the Lisa and Robyn on the Mic show.
Well, thanks for having me today. I mean, what did I do to deserve the honor of this?
Because I wanted to ask you, but you were on the phone at the break.
Oh, okay.
I'm just going to ask him real quick. Who killed John F. Kennedy besides Lee Harvey Oswald?
Well, the official investigation determined that Lee Harvey Oswald was a lone gunman, and there have been no other official investigations that have indicated anything else. However, as you know, there has been wild speculation as to who and how many parties may have been involved. And unfortunately, despite a lot of pressure to do so, no president has declassified all of the documents relating to that investigation and to the assassination of JFK. So as long as those documents remain classified, I fear that there'll be continued questions. Why? What do you think happened?
Because my mother thought it was the CIA and she was well read in all of those things, and I just felt like she was really smart. I'm going to go with CIA. But I don't know why.
CIA, huh?
That's what she said.
Well,
we can't ask her. She passed away, but she was really believing. She believed it was an inside government job.
Okay, so you believe that our government was involved.
My mother believed that, and I don't have a better belief.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I tend to be one of those guys that believes in, if you have a theory, you should produce the evidence and you should show me. I will admit that there's a lot of unanswered questions, but no one has been able to show me the proof that our government was directly involved in that assassination.
Do you think not declassifying the information after 40-something years, we'll just declassify it so we can know what happened?
Well, it does bring a lot of questions to light. It makes me a little suspicious of what may be in those classified documents, but you never know. It might be some relationship with some foreign dignitary or some kind of, situation where they're discussing, because there's a lot of things going on in the world right then. I mean, you look at right around that time, Vietnam was getting ready to explode. You had the beginning of Fidel Castro kind of coming to power in Cuba. And, you had the Cuban Missile Crisis. So the former Soviet Union's in the mix. You have no idea what might be in those classified documents. And I'm just going to put this out there. And I always found this to be odd because George H.W. Bush always denied having any association with a certain three-letter organization prior to becoming its director. And he did so when he was campaigning for office. However, one of the documents that did get declassified over the past several years is a letter from then FBI Director Hoover, which references a CIA, I don't know, we want to call him an agent, but anyway, he was a person that was with the CIA at the time who happened to be a certain George Bush. So, at a minimum, that's a strange connection.
He knew somebody, or that he was.
There's a letter that Director Hoover sent that was a classified document, communication from the FBI, that indicated that the FBI briefed George Bush on things that happened relating to JFK's assassination.
Well, then that would explains why him and his son, they wouldn't release them then. But Annie Jacobson, you can move my stuff. Please do.
I like this bag. Is this like a man purse?
It could be.
Can we take a picture?
Crossbody it.
Put that down.
Crossbody it.
No, I'm not. No, come on.
So we were actually just telling our guests that we were on your show on Monday after, the drama, the world drama, and we were wondering, do you record any of your shows?
Of course. We record all of our shows here at WSMN.
Well, so how do we find your replay?
We need permission from him to get the replay.
Well, I guess if you ask really nicely, I could probably talk to the
powers that be.
Powers that be, and make sure that the link to the archives of my show are activated.
I would love that. Today's my mom's birthday, and she wants to listen to that show.
Really? Today's your mom's birthday?
July 18th.
What's your mom's name?
Her name is Lee.
Lee, happy birthday. We have something in common. I have a birthday in a couple of days, so.
Hey.
There you go.
How old you going to be?
Old enough. How about that?
29 again.
29. Actually, I changed mine. Like a 32. 32 is a better number for me.
32?
How old do you see yourself as?
7 sometimes.
What? Yeah,
15, 7, 16, 29, 128.
I really enjoyed 30.
Did you?
I did.
I liked my 30s.
30 was that's when things were kind of settled,
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't a newbie just out of college, so I wasn't, trying to figure out how everything worked. Finances were a little bit more stabilized.
Yeah.
Family had started, so career was on its way. That was, good time. Everybody talks about teenage years. I don't buy that. I'm sorry.
I think it's the worst, one of the hardest times in your life.
When you're living under your parents' roof and you have no control over anything in your life, and your day to day is basically going to school and seeing how you fit in the social schema of everything that's going on. Nah.
Yeah. So I agree. I think that you're awkward. You're trying to find your own place. You're trying to find your people, but that's based not on really your people, but where you are geographically in the world or what school you go to. I found my real friend group, I think, in college.
Well, I think it's realizing, I think high school, it's one of those awakening moments of, wow, you're not in this world alone. Like there's other people, because it is when you wake up as kids, you don't really think much outside of yourself or how you fit in. You just show up, or at least a lot of us, kids, they just, they're going to come in the door like, oh my God, what are we going to play today? Not like, oh, what shoes do I have on, or are my socks matching, and how I'm showing up in the world. They just show up. And I think high school is a dawning of another layer of self-awareness.
So to get back to the assassination questions, because I said I feel like this is a repeat of the 60s. you've got everyone's trying to do mushrooms and psychedelics to find a higher power. Then this group over here is disregarding another group altogether. And then we had the assassination in the 60s of JFK, Bobby Kennedy, and Martin Luther King.
And actually...
3 very influential people who could have made such a difference in the world.
I'm going to agree with you, but I'm going to add something to that. There's a lot of individuals that weren't as famous as those people you just mentioned that were assassinated during that time frame. That was a period of time in this country where there were just a lot of assassinations, period. And a lot of it, I think, had to do with the fact that there was a paradigm shift that was coming. We had a lot of the civil rights legislation that was coming up. It's hard to imagine now in today's context, but that was very controversial back then. And a lot of people were trying to resist the change they felt coming on. And then, of course, you had the hippie movement, which I think influenced that. I think you intimated based on the...
And before I was saying that we had the riots and we had a race issue. We had busing in Boston. So I did name those as like some other things that were going on during that time. But I should have named Vietnam because Vietnam was a whole period of unrest. And now I think of the war with Israel and I think of the Ukrainian war and so many things that are going on. It just feels like that.
But we don't have any U.S. soldiers going over there right now, which is different.
That is different, yeah.
But do you feel like yes, I think part of the hippie movement came out, but the way I was listening to it, like, and just listening to the opposition of, like, it was a counterbalance. It was what people showed up to counterbalance all the ugliness in the world. The war, the fear, and all of these things. Not to say that it made it right or anything like that, but I could see where this whole hippie movement, like, we're gonna fall into love, we're gonna fall into peace, and all of these things, but yet you can still see how, like, the protesting and all of these things, how they kind of couldn't quite separate, couldn't quite make it.
And when I think of hippies, I think of Charles Manson using hippies. Well, and I read a book called Chaos, and I was mentioning it to her. I'll mention to you. It's a fascinating book, but it talks about the CIA LSD experiments.
You were just all over the CIA today. What happened?
So I don't even know the first thing about the CIA, honestly, other than these pieces. I don't know what the CIA does. I only have conspiracy theories of what the CIA does.
Well, I mean, you know what what they do. So, I mean,
I know what they do, but what my point?
Do you know? Do you realize the roots of our intelligence community in this country go all the way back to the Revolutionary War?
I imagine it always existed because you always need that edge.
You need that information. You need that influence. You need those people that can go off into the shadows and do all those things that polite society can't do.
Right. So Annie Jacobson wrote a book. I'm going to look it up so I don't screw it up. But
So
it is
while
about
you're doing that, I want to. What is your opinion? Do you think that Missy, head of Kimberly, should step down?
Well, you know,
Or do you think anything should happen?
I hate to jump to conclusions without fully looking at all the information.
He's so unlike us.
Well, but this is serious stuff. I mean, it really
we
is.
talked about, like, no drones. If they were short-staffed.
Look, just based on my real quick observation of everything that happened in the assassination attempt against Donald Trump, clearly, even without even analyzing every mistake that they made, the Secret Service and the rest of law enforcement, you have to admit that there was a breakdown there. There was a serious breach of protocol, of making sure that they provided a safe space, and they made, for lack of a better term, some pretty boneheaded decisions in doing so that resulted in a real vulnerability for this kid to be able to successfully fire multiple rounds at President Trump. It's inexcusable that was allowed to happen.
Right.
Now, who is exactly responsible for that, well, I do believe the fish always rots at the head. So you have to start looking at leadership, and you say, hey, what was leadership saying? And we've already heard the head of Secret Service admit that they decided, and I'm flabbergasted to hear this. They decided not to put anyone on that roof because there was a slight slant and it was dangerous. Oh yeah, shooting, ammunition from 150 yards.
Like Secret Service isn't trained to lay on a slanted roof.
Well, it's even worse than that because the snipers that identified him were on another slanted roof.
Right.
They sound, it's like Bizarro World. It almost reminds me of Joe Biden when he gave his speech condemning the Supreme Court justices for their decision to give the president, which he is right now, by the way, he's talking against himself, but to give the president immunity to maintain the balance of power between the branches of government. He quotes George Washington, and the quote's talking about the power being in the hands of the people.
Right.
And then he criticizes the decision because the courts didn't take care of it. Now it's going to be up to the people to decide on Election Day. It's like, is anybody listening?
Mean that. He's like, I didn't really mean that.
Oh, yeah. He didn't mean a lot of stuff. Can you walk like Joe Biden?
I could probably. I might.
That might be a new, dance craze.
What we'll have to do is we'll video it, and then you split screen it.
Yeah, I mean.
Yes, we should do that.
And we'll just make it like, what do you call it?
Swimming.
Well, a synchronized swimming.
Biden.
We'll do it like a TikTok challenge.
We'll all do it.
The Biden.
Biden.
Do the Biden.
So the name of Annie Jacobson's book
Beware
is Surprise, Kill, Vanish, and it's about assassination. And it talks about what do you do when war isn't an option? And that's where assassination comes in. And the influence of that question and that answer is there a certain part of our government that doesn't want the option to be are we approaching civil war?
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and put this out there. I'm not gonna say we're approaching civil war, but we are very divided. We've got this huge chasm in the middle between both sides. There's a lot of polarity in the country. And the other piece of this is whether we have a civil war or not in our future, and I hope we don't, because that's a horrible thing to go through. And we know as a country, it's in our history.
Yep.
The one thing I will say, regardless of what happens this election day, somebody's going to be not happy. Somebody's going to be really pissed off. And I don't think there's any way to avoid some type of unrest after Election Day. You will have some level of unrest. This is just my opinion. How far that goes is going to really depend on what the prevailing side does once they're elected. But you're going to see a dust up. There are going to be protests. And
I think we'll see more before we even get to the election.
And there's a good chance that there will be some level of violence embedded in that.
So what I actually think it's a form of terrorism, because when the Floyd protests were going on, they were attacking black businesses. They were setting fire,
There's a long-standing precedence from that. If you go back to the 60s, most of the violent protests that you saw, even after the assassination of Martin Luther King, a lot of, African Americans, blacks went out into the streets, they protested, and then they trashed their own neighborhoods.
Yeah, so
and trashed their own businesses.
So when I think I actually don't think we're at a point of civil war, but I think we will destroy ourselves, our own side. That's why, the Civil War is supposed to be us against you, and there's supposed to be a line that divides, and a civil war is when that's within your own country. But it seems like, based on recent history, that it would just be a burning of ourselves down.
Yeah, where's the line? I mean, in the Civil War, you had the Confederacy, which was basically the southern states, and then, against the Union, which was the North.